Hey, welcome back to the sixth episode of the Decomposition Pattern podcast, where we break down the hardest stakes in tech and programming into their fundamental components. We separate signal from noise, tackle complex topics with clarity, and rebuild our understanding from the ground up. This is Jose, and today I thought we'd talk a little bit about career development paths for software engineers. This topic was triggered by a lot of posts I see on social platforms like Reddit, for example, where software engineers kind of ask, hey, what are my career options? And do you have any kind of advice for me to evolve my career to the next level? So here I am sharing my own knowledge and understanding of the topic with you. So if you're in the same position as these people that asked for help, you can take a much more informed decision. So there are 3 points that I want to talk about on this episode. First of all, what the career development paths exists. Second is what are the expected hard and soft skills for each of them. And last is my own personal advice for a very confident and good career development, one that I've been using for myself. So the first one, so what career development paths exist? There are actually like 3, and they are engineering manager, then we have technical leadership, and then you have the individual contributor. Okay, so all 3 of them share some commonality, right? But they also differ a lot in terms of expectations and the day-to-day work. Word of advice, so I'm more experienced in one of those 3, but I have been working with a lot of people from the other 2, and have the kind of necessary understanding to know, because I've accompanied a lot of people progressing in those paths, to kind of understand what are the general expectation for them. I'm more focused on technical leadership, but then the engineering management I see are from me accompanying those people in their own development paths. So, giving that, engineering manager. So this is the more traditional evolution step in a software engineer career evolution plan, right? So it's kind of the de facto standard for doing for evolving, which is kind of being now recent years being kind of break down these expectation, right? Or this tradition in a way, with the appearance and more study and sort of more exploration on the other path. But so what is an engineering manager? So an engineering manager is more focused on managing people, right? So the whole purpose of this position is to help people understand their how's their careers, understand their shortcomings, plan with them together how to surpass those shortcomings, how to be better in them, how to kind of prepare them for the next step in evolution. Periodically, they might do things like one-on-ones, which are specific meets, short meets, in a very short feedback loop. That's with the intention of understanding how they're going, if things are cool, if they have any kind of problem. So the engineering manager also kind of acts in this issue resolution thing, or how's their plan, if they have a plan, or developing this career plan to evolve, and how's their position on that plan, if everything is going great or not. So, but you can understand that the central point of an engineering manager is kind of look after people and kind of also help C-suite understand processes and define processes, and some planning like hiring and firing, all of that, and also have those develop and sponsor people in their career revisions, right? So yeah, this is mainly because there's a lot to say about of each topics each these bullet points that I shared with you. There are a lot to discuss. Maybe I could bring someone to talk a little bit more as an engineering manager, to talk a little bit more about the the nuances in this position, and maybe I can expand that on another episode. But then, besides engineering manager, we have the individual contributor, right? So the individual contributor, if you kind of try to see the career evolution path in a matrix, the individual contributor is the one that continues to specialize in a kind of technology or a service or something. So it kind of gets a lot of experience and specialty on this specific set of things, right? Not necessarily one thing, but maybe they are very deep on something. Maybe they are deep on a specific language, programming language, or a specific system, like is the go-to guy or girl for databases performance or application optimizations or memory efficiency or whatever, right? So you can think of them as the go-to people for these very hard and specific deep problems, and they kind of evolve horizontally, right? It's not like they want to be a technical leader or an manager. They don't care about that too much. They just care about being good software engineers, very specialized on some set of skills, hard skills. They might be a little bit awkward on the soft skills, but that's kind of that's kind of the fame they might get. You might kind of associate with all those series about software or whatever that say that they are very, very closed, but not necessarily. Okay, so break out from that. I met a lot of extremely good individual contributors that are just a joy to be around. They're very funny, and they're not socially awkward. I think about, they're not that fat guy with the glasses that just eat chips and can talk to girls. Nothing like that. Maybe they go into the gym, they are all pumped up, and you never thought about them as an individual contributor. But I digress. What I wanted to talk about is that an individual contributor specializes in a set of technologies, mainly the ones that the company uses. Or maybe they specialize on different ones and they actually get hired because they are such special on that. They have so much specialty on that technology that a company will try to adopt in the future, and they bring in that knowledge so they can just kickstart and help the team to understand and share that knowledge. I've seen that happen a lot of times. It's a very natural thing to happen, so you should take care of your individual contributors or you'll lose them. But then we go into the last path, which is the technical leader path, right? The technical leadership. This is the one that I have more experience on because that's exactly the one that I'm pursuing right now. If you don't know, I've been a staff engineer in a previous company I work with. Shout out to InfraSpeak for that. Now I'm a senior software engineer on Procurus, but that's not much relevant. But just to show that I'm doing this career path for the technical leadership, so I can talk in a much more depth than the other two. And what is a technical leader? The technical leader is the one that kind of takes, I wouldn't say control, but kind of takes responsibility for the overall quality, performance, and architecture of a system or a group of systems. Mainly kind of, not necessarily the entire company, depends on the size, but tends to kind of get a general technical understanding of how things work across the board. Right? It's not a person that goes and looks into everyone's pull requests or that needs to approve every single change in architecture in the sense of looking into the nitty-gritty line by line things of what people are doing, but he or she needs to understand and have a well-defined set of common practice, right, or guidelines or software development guidelines that shares with the team and aligns the team on that. Should also be responsible for stating to the team, like our company has this mission and we can support that mission doing these like initiatives in a technical perspective. Kind of tries to get everybody aligned on that. So there's this lot of this gets into this spectrum of trying to get people in line, so it has to have this kind of sub skill of people management, but not necessarily their careers, but also help them understand their shortcomings in a technical side. So while the engineering manager and a technical leader, they kind of are two parts of a unit, right? As an engineering manager, he manages the careers and the people and kind of has this more soft touch to things. A technical leader might be a little bit on the contracts of that, so not only manage the person itself, but is more like, I've noticing that you might need to get a little bit more knowledge on this technology, or kind of maybe you're recommended to go visit this other service. So it kind of complements on a more technical side how a person can evolve. So, and also works with the C-suite or anybody above it to kind of bring down the abstract of a company's mission and try to develop a plan that it should align the entire team on, and discuss with the team how things can be done technically to achieve that plan. So there's also a lot of nuances in this career path, but it's much more focused on technical strength, right? So hard skills. As an individual contributor, a technical leader should not be like boxed into like just technology, and it's still a manager in a sense, right? It just does not manage a specific career of somewhere. Like they might chip in and help people develop a technical plan to improve on the certain hard skills, but in contrary to what an engineering manager does not manage careers. They might work and share information to help developing a person's career. Like an engineering manager might go into a technical leader, hey, this person that in one of the teams that you manage, how's she's doing or he's doing, how's the technical technical performance, do you see him as whatever, and might even help people understand that maybe my path is not going to engineering manager or going to technical leadership. Maybe I should be an individual contributor because that's what best resonates with me, right? So, but now you kind of understand, or you should be understanding, that there's like these three paths that you can take: engineering manager, an individual contributor, or a technical leader. They all have their strengths. Engineering manager, there's more focus on people interactions and processes. A technical leadership is most focused on technology and architecture and general team alignment. You might even manage teams in projects execution. And then you have the individual contributor, which is a full-on executor and very specialized person in a subset of technology or in the technologies that a project uses. With this knowledge, now you can understand that, or you need to understand where you stand and what you'll be most joyful in pursuing. And another word of advice: once you take a decision, it does not mean that it has to be that decision for the entirety of your career. You might decide, hey, maybe I go in a more traditional way and go into engineering manager, and then you develop the work of engineering manager for a few months, and you say, actually this is not for me. Maybe I miss the technical part of the work. I really want to be involved more in the technical part of the project. So maybe I should try being an individual contributor or a technical leader or whatever. You can and you should be able by your company to move laterally, right? So going from an engineering manager to a technical leader or into an individual contributor until you find your spot. Sometimes you gotta, for as much as you think about things, sometimes you just gotta try it, right? And you try it and it does not work out, and it does not mean that you need to go a step back, like having a demotion or go back to like senior software engineer to kind of go forward. You should be able to move laterally. So what are the to kind of help you understand a little bit more of what are the expectations, not exactly the expectations of the position, which I've talked on the previously, but exactly what are expected hard and soft skills for each of those. As an engineering manager, you have to have a lot more soft skills than hard skills, right? So although an engineering manager needs to understand the technical points of things that are to be done, they don't necessarily need to know them deeply, right? You might need to understand what the language the teams use, because you might need to hire for it, right? But you don't necessarily need to work with it or have worked with it in the past. That's why there's technical leaders that's to help in that, and kind of, if you need that information, you can get them from them, right? These are like I said, like two parts of a unit. But you do need to be very good with people. So if you like talking to people, if you like having those conversations that allows to reach an eureka moment of, hey, you don't know what to do, let me just help you, enable you, and have you thought about doing this and that and those, and you kind of want to have this very direct impact in somebody's career and be happy that somebody evolves and grows. Maybe engineering management is for you if you're also up to having a lot of meets, right? Because I wouldn't measure your being a good engineering manager with the number of meets that you have. That's just not how things work. But you kind of get into all of those like hiring and firing meets, one-on-ones, career reviews, maybe you helping the CEO, CTO, or whatever kind of understand the people plan, or how people what are the difficulties that the teams have been facing and what you need to change in the process. So you kind of do these all management work, right? That's one of the things. So in terms of, you need a lot more of soft skills and mental broadband to do that. So, and also to be able to jump in problems and help resolve conflicts and all of that. So you gotta be aware that if you go into an engineering manager career path, you need to be a lot more prepared to interact with people, to worry and to empathize with peoples, and you'll find a lot of situations that will kind of test your patience, and you never get to avoid or should avoid talking to anybody. Like, you gotta be a very accessible person and non-conflictuous, obviously, even though that's something across the board. So for the engineering manager, you kind of have those kind of expectations. So people talking, but a lot more soft skills than hard skills. But then you go into for example, an individual contributor. An individual contributor should have much more hard skills strength. So it should be very technical, a person that understands systems, that can kind of get that feeling of, I know exactly what is going on and where possibly the problem is, and it should continue to be extremely focused on getting to on top of evolutions in the technologies that it's specializing in. So you can understand that it's a lot more of hard skills than soft skills. That like I said before, it does not mean that they should be a very hard person to deal with, or that it should not know how to communicate. That's a very important in all of these career paths, is to be a good communicator. But it should have, or it's expected to have, a lot more hard skills than soft skills. So maybe it does not know, or she does not know how to manage people's career, but in contrast, it can give a very quick, a very easy to understand top down of how an architecture is implemented, right? Of a system is implemented in terms of architecture. So yeah. Now in the technical leadership, it's a lot more in contrast with engineering manager. So it has to also have a lot of soft skills, but even more hard skills, but not so much like the individual contributor. So what do I mean? To be more concrete, it still needs to know how to deal with people, because there are expectations to be managed. It still needs to talk up and down, right? So it needs to talk with C-suite or some people above them, hierarchically above them, but also knows how to talk with people under them, right? So with collaborators and team members and so on and so forth, and needs to have this empathy, right? Does not Paul's rank to decide things. So it's gotta be all. It's a lot of politics involved here, in a way that sometimes you might have a strength opinion about something, about some way of doing things, but you cannot kind of just enforce them. You either make the team understand that it's the best thing to do, and all of them or the majority of them do a buy-in on that, or you just let the team do a little bit of what can align with them, right? You very rarely, in all of these positions, very rarely want to pull rank to decide something. But maybe I'm digressing a little bit. So to come back, a technical leader should be very strong in technical things. So we gotta have a lot of hard skills. Gotta understand systems, architecture, evolution, standards, and all of that. So we gotta know all of those concepts in software engineering. They don't need to know them in the concrete implementations and all of details. Individual contributor might do that. But in contrast, it needs to kind of know how to fit these puzzle pieces together so that it makes sense for all types of stakeholders, right? So, and it needs to take business language and can construct or deconstruct them into technical jargon, and vice versa. So there's a lot of these kind of expectations. So to be a little more concrete, knows how to talk with people, knows how to align expectations, knows how to get the buy-in and influence, and then it shares a lot of commonalities with engineering manager. It just understands people's strengths and weaknesses and tries to help them in terms of technical parts, right? Tries to help them evolve. So these are most common rundown of the expected hard and soft skills for each career path. And then we go into my personal advice to career development. First and foremost, don't rush it. In a sense that you don't need to count the years, like I'm reaching my 5th year and now I'm expected to take a decision and I'm just make a decision. No, think thoroughly. First of all, the career is our own to decide. You can defer that decision for as long as you want. You'll just kind of move on into the individual contributor. You don't want to go into engineering manager, you haven't decided yet. You don't want to go into engineering manager, or you go into technical leadership, so you by default go into an individual contributor, and that's totally fine. First of all, you shouldn't need to go into any other career path if you're not feeling it. Maybe you're just having fun, you're being well compensated, you just don't want to worry about anything else. You just want to do your work, you want to be a good executor, maybe you participate in some planning, right? Second advice I have to give is that you think, even if you're not well decided on which way to go, you talk with your manager. If you don't have a manager, I feel very sorry for you. You should have a manager. At the very least, your manager is like the CEO of the company or your director or whatever. Even if they don't know it, they are your manager. So you need to very clearly set expectations. It's gotta also come from you. Set expectations. No, this is what I want for my future. I'm thinking about it, or maybe I haven't yet thought about it. I'm not really sure. But once you kind of get the sense of where you want to go, you gotta set the expectations clearly. Right, so I want to go this path or that path, right? I want to go into engineering manager, or I want to go technical leader, or I just want to continue in this individual path. That's totally fine. But after you decide that, you and your manager should define a plan to evolve, right? You should not be waiting for them to come and say, hey, you know what? I've been watching you and you now fit into this kind of role and we're going to send you, here's a pop-up promotion. No, that's not how it works. You gotta take the initiative, or at least that's my recommendation. That's what has been working for me. So set expectations, and by setting expectations, you're clearly saying which path you want to go or you don't want to go, and then you can explore what that position represents in the company that you're in now. Because being a manager in Procurus or being a manager in InfraSpeak. I'm talking just two of the companies that I've worked in. There are two different concrete definitions of what the manager is supposed to be, because they are two different companies, they have two different contexts. There are obviously common things that everybody should expect, but they might have been, or they might have specifics that you need to be aware of that might not work for you, right? So one company might want an engineering manager to just be on the career development, hiring and firing and so on, and it does not participate in plannings, for example. Others might want it. So getting those specifics will help you understand if this is something that you want to do. Also, you should never reach, even imagining that you have a plan decided with your manager, and you define the position, or you have the position definition, and you both think that you're ready to move on to the next step. Instead of going immediately to kind of a promotion, my recommendation is that you try out for a few. Meaning that this might be a topic of their own, like how to evolve in a career, and I might do it. But just a quick thing on this. You will always be promoted if you're working above your current position. It does not make sense for you to be promoted if you're working at your current position. So if you're a software engineer that wants to go into technical leadership, you should already be showing signs of technical leader, right? So you should always be working above your current position expectations, and then you go into a promotion, because that's how you show that you're working and you're worth it, right? So if this is the case, and this should be the case, that means that you should probably already have some experience, or at least shown some inclination to one of those paths, and your manager should also pick up and let things very clear with you. So that's the expectations part. But then you go and you are giving like a green light, like, let's try this engineering manager or this technical leader or whatever. These are the expected responsibilities. Let's see how you go. So you go and you start to perform at that level and experiment. Maybe they post something company-wide to say, hey, maybe Jose now is an interim engineering manager or an interim technical leader or whatever. Like, and there's a lot of specific positions, right? In the technical leadership, you might go into a staff and then into a principal, and then you go into distinguished or even a CTO. Imagine that. Right? Engineering manager, same thing. You might go into a director, right? So you can go in manager, director, maybe C-suite of some kind, maybe even CEO. Who cares? So just for you to understand, there's also these specific things. But then maybe you have this post or this communication. Hey, you're now an interim of this position, and you can perform at that level. And you perform it for a few months, like 3 months or whatever, if you both think it's suitable, and then you see if things are working out, and if they are working out, you leave the interim part and you just go full on that position, right? So setting expectations, experimenting, and having some initial experience in that concrete position, and then you see if you are well suited for that or not, or if your expectations don't match the reality. And once again, if that does not match the reality, that you should be able to move laterally. Like you tried engineering manager and it does not work so well. It looked good in paper, but now not so good. Then you move laterally, but maybe I can try be a technical leader. You gotta understand that you can't do these lateral movements all the time, but you can try one or two and see which one of them fit. And if not, by default, continue on the path that you are now, in a way, like going to individual contributor or something. You default to something, or maybe the company you're into is not the appropriate way for you to develop that. But you gotta think about your career. You gotta set the expectations with your engineering manager, and you gotta perform above your level to kind of get into this promotion position or be ready for that. So you also understand that going forward, this is exactly what I want to do, and I can focus totally on that, right? And that's it basically. That's all I have to say. As usual, as always, come hang out on our Discord. Just go into discord.thedecompositionpattern.com. The link should be on the podcast description. Just go there and come share with me and with us. What are your career development path you're currently working on? Do you have any doubts? Do you disagree with something? Come hang out, share your knowledge, share your voice, your experience, so we all can grow together. Till then, have a nice day. See you on the next episode. Bye bye.